Reports of 42 person were on you. I never won. Try lose you, try them up on me. Well.
This is one of the most disastrous, the saddest news that no one expected at the end of the year. Today, Jeju Air passenger plane belly landed in Muan airport after bird strike and then crashed into a wall. And there were only 2 survivors and 179 passengers are lost. The accident happened a few hours ago, so the investigation has just begun. But in legal terms, we have to focus on 3 subjects to find out why this happen and who's responsible for this tragedy. The negligence of flight attendant, the airline company, and the airport, which is represented by the government. In fact, there is so little information at this point, so it's too early to tell who's actually responsible for this disaster. The accident itself seems like happened because of a bird strike, so which means the captain may have chosen the best option within that 3 to 4 minutes of urgent situation. But there are some allegations, although not confirmed yet, that Jeju Air Company operated this crashed plane despite a multiple engine failure reports in the past years. And also about the Muan airport, it has relatively short range of runway, which is 2,800 meters, which is 1,000 meters shorter than Incheon International Airport. So if the Jeju Air Company and the government is found responsible for this plane crash, then they will be liable for civil damage. Really, this is the saddest moment of the year, and may they rest in peace, and my deepest condolences to all the families who lost their loved ones.
4 major airplane incidents, and you mean to tell me that this is not huge red flags to these airlines? First, it was the training pilots, then the airplane that was down by Russia, then the airplane that just crashed yesterday in South Korea, and now there was an airplane in Canada that had to do an emergency landing. What? Too many lives are being lost at the hands of these incidents, and I think that this is the opportunity that these airlines need to take to hire better engineers, or I don't know, to do more maintenance routine checks, to really thoroughly check that these things are appropriate to be operating with real people inside. And to the people who are flying, this is the reason why you need to do your research with the airlines that you're traveling with, because yes, some airlines have better prices, but these are the shortcuts that they're taking. They're not thoroughly evaluating the aircraft. So while there are companies that are charging more for your flight, they are probably going to get you to your destination safer.
We all know about the plane crash from Azerbaijan that was shot down by Russia, probably their anti-aircraft drones. And now we've got a second plane crash. I've always heard it said they come in 3s. Here's number 2. At least 28 people have died in a plane crash in southwestern South Korea, a local fire department has told CNN. South Jeolla Province Fire Service Headquarters said that number is expected to grow as recovery operations continue. The Jeju airliner was carrying 175 passengers and 6 crew when it crashed on landing at the airport in Muan County, just after 9 a.m. their time. Time will tell if the old adage is true, but this is very, very sad.
Let's talk about why there have been so many plane crashes and plane almost crashing instances in the past week. There have been 4 just in the past 5-6 days. But in the entire year of 2024, there have been 18 crashes. 80, the year is not even over yet. War in the final destination is going on. The year's not over yet, and there have been 4 in the past few days. So we've had KLM, which was today. That set alight due to a rough landing. There was the South Korea flight, which crashed into a wall, and that was because the landing gear did not come out properly due to a bird strike apparently, and then there was the flight that was suspected to be shot down by Russia, and there was Air Canada, which also set alight due to a rough landing. Plane crashes are supposed to be so unlikely, and the fatality rate of a plane crash is 95%, so you only have a 5% chance of actually surviving that. And if you do, what's the likelihood that you walk out without a single scratch? If you do, you're chosen. You are the chosen one.
New and shocking news is coming out in regard to the Jeju airplane crash that happened in South Korea on December 29th that killed 179 passengers with only 2 surviving crew members. The Boeing 737-800 that was in the Jeju airplane crash completed its pre-maintenance checkup in just 28 minutes. This Boeing 737-800 also flew 4 countries in one day, with 1 hour turnarounds as well. Now, safety concern questions have been raised since the crash happened in regard to Jeju Air and how they operate with just 28 minutes for a maintenance checkup. Jeju Air has also had multiple incidents in the past before this catastrophic tragedy happened. Literally less than 1 day after the catastrophic tragedy, a Boeing 737-800 that is operated by Jeju Air had to turn around and be canceled because they had another landing gear issue at the Gimpo International Airport, which not only is raising safety concerns within Jeju Air, but also with Boeing, who is no stranger to safety issues and concerns in regard to their aircrafts. Now, a lot of aviation experts are sounding the alarm because 28 minutes for a maintenance checkup on a aircraft that was flying internationally to 4 stops with 1 hour in between and just allowing only 28 minutes for maintenance is actually insane and raises a lot of safety concerns because it was pushing the aircraft to its limit. Now, I had mentioned in my previous video that Jeju Air had acquired this Boeing 737-800 back in 2017, and this Boeing 737-800 was manufactured in 2009. Now, previously, this Boeing 737 that Jeju Air had acquired was actually operated previously with Ryanair. And Ryanair is notoriously known for its tight turnaround schedules as well as overusing the airplane to its limit. And the Boeing 737-800 in the Jeju airplane crash was already 15 years old. Now, Jeju Air is heavily defending its practices and how it operates and has said that this issue, the 28-minute maintenance, is not the issue of why this airplane crashed. Now, this is raising a lot of concerns within the aviation industry, not only about Jeju Air's practices and how they do their maintenance, but also with Boeing, who sells these aircraft models. Now, the investigation has just started, so we'll have to see how this plays out and see what happened in regard to how this catastrophic tragedy happened.
There's been another plane crash and it's in South Korea, second one this week. First it was Kazakhstan, and the plane crash today in South Korea killed like 180 plus people. Oh my god, like, rest in peace to all of those people. I can't imagine the fear. Like, it probably happened so quickly because the plane literally crashed upon landing and hit a wall. Like, imagine flying all those hours and thinking you've made it, and then that happens in the literal final minute. Like, just, I can't imagine what went through their heads in that last few seconds, like, deeping what's happening. But yeah, rest in peace to all the victims. And the only 2 survivors of the whole plane were supposedly one flight attendant and 1 passenger. People who are scared of flying, valid, very valid. Just what is actually going on? Like, and I read something about how the one in South Korea, there was a new acting president that took over just a few days ago. I mean, I'm not gonna start conspiracizing, but I did just watch Carry On as well. And, like, I know it's just a movie, but, like, corrupt stuff happens. Corrupt stuff happens, okay? Like, someone said, oh, anytime there's a plane crash, there must have been someone important on that flight that someone's trying to get rid of. And, like, we've seen Carry On as well. Like, obviously movies aren't real life, but they're a depiction of some parts of real life. So I'm just like, I don't know. Apparently it was a bird strike. Maybe it was. I don't know. The whole thing is tragic regardless, so yeah, rest in peace.
What's going on with all the airplanes? Like, what's going on? It's 2024. Like, we shouldn't have this many plane crashes. 50 years ago, people would think we'll have flying cars by now. But now, oh my god, are cyber trucks and plane crashes!
For all the people concerned about why there's a cement wall at the end of a runway, let me enlighten. Any airport near large bodies of water is going to have a cement wall just to protect against water, say like typhoons, tsunamis, things like that. But it's not just that. Every airport has a fence at the end of the runway. And that's because right beyond the runway is the instrument lighting system, which is a series of these really tall metal poles that would puncture holes in the bottom of an airplane if it were to go over it, which would cause it to explode just the same. If the plane were to make it past the instrument lighting system, it would have run into the highway, which would have killed more people. I don't know. I saw a lot of people acting like the cement wall is the reason they died. The cement wall is the reason that more people didn't die. That's all. Also, planes are designed to be able to land without landing gear in emergency situations. The friction should be able to stop them. It's where they landed on the runway that caused this issue. It's not the cement wall. Okay.
Listen up, people. We've got a breaking news report. South Korean airline Boeing 737-800 crash landed with 181 people on board. It looks like there's only 2 survivors. After studying the footage, it looks like a bird went through its jet engine. Also, a Canadian Airlines engine caught fire, and that also crash landed, but it looks like everyone on board survived. This will be the 3rd crash this Christmas. What's going on, people? In other news, Finland have confiscated Eagle S Russian vessel for reportedly, supposedly, cutting undersea cables. Also, a North Korean soldier had been captured by Ukraine and sadly died because of his injuries. Also, nearly 100 soldiers have been killed in clashes between the Taliban from Afghanistan and Pakistan, right on the border with Pakistan. Another escalation as we enter World War III. Also, Georgia has a new president, and it looks like the people don't like him because they were showing him red cards because he used to be a footballer. What you saying, people? Follow for updates.
It has been a devastating day today here in Korea after a Jeju airplane crashed while landing at Busan Airport at 9:03 a.m. There were 181 passengers on board. In the crash, only 2 crew members survived. They were allegedly in the back of the plane, which was the only remaining part of the plane after the crash. And 13 hours later, after a whole day of rescuing, officials confirmed the death toll is 179. There were 2 Thai passengers, and with it being this time of the year, the majority of the passengers were coming home to their families after a short holiday vacation. And among the 179 passengers who were killed in the crash, only 65 people have been identified. Although this crash needs a thorough investigation, experts are speculating that the main cause of this crash is due to contact with a flock of birds, resulting in engine damage and malfunctioning landing gear. The government declared a national 7-day mourning period for today's crash, and the 2024 NBC Entertainment Awards that was scheduled for tonight has been cancelled.
So, as we all know now, Jeju Air Flight 2216 crash landed in Wuhan Airport. All 175 passengers perished. Only 2 out of the 6 crew members survived. And this is the worst airplane crash to have happened on Korean soil in history. And I feel terrible. I feel like that day when I first heard about Itaewon, or that day I first heard about what was happening with Sewol, just why? How? I know that sometimes things happen, terrible things happen, and I know that sometimes people want to find blame even when there is none. But here's the thing. Planes survive bird strikes all the time. In fact, according to the International Civil Aviation Organization, 11% of all bird strike actually result in any kind of damage to the aircraft. Planes also land without landing gears and survive belly landings more frequently than you think. But in this case, there was a wall that was nearly 3 meters high. The plane crashed into the wall and exploded. Experts are looking at this wall to be the reason why so many casualties occurred. And to be exact, we're not talking about the outer wall of the airport. A lot of media reports are saying that it's the outer wall that the plane impacted with. That's not quite true. What we saw on video shows that that's not the case. Also, because the outer wall is just a brick wall, it would have disintegrated the moment it impacted, and the plane would have skidded out onto the road beyond the airport. Instead, it's this thing, this hill of dirt with a concrete structure inside. So why was this hill here? Well, it was there to place a localizer. Localizers, or LOCs, are these transmission instruments positioned at the far end of the runway opposite the landing direction to transmit precise radio signals that guide aircrafts during landing. Now, the localizer's location is within the standards of the law. It's out of the 300-meter range. It's placed at 323 meters. However, the materials are another matter. Regulations by the ICAO and the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport both state that such materials, if they present themselves as potential obstacles, must be built out of frangible material, meaning something that easily breaks up into fragments. Concrete is not frangible. Also, if this was meant to be a soft obstacle to slow down an airplane that has gone off the runway, a big 3-meter concrete barrier is not a soft obstacle. So multiple experts have now pointed out that they need to investigate why this hill was placed here, why it was built like this, and why it never got flagged. Time and time again, Koreans have gone through these man-made disasters, 삼풍백화점, Sewol Ferry, Itaewon, Daegu subway fire, that always had someone or some people cutting corners or not following regulations, because what's the chance of this happening? Like, what's the chance that a plane with an engine failure from a bird strike with a malfunctioning landing gear would try to land with too much speed and overrun the runway and collide into this out-of-regulation concrete barrier? Well, we found out that there's a chance in the most horrific way possible. Or maybe not, I don't know. Maybe this is all just me trying to deal with how sad I'm feeling right now. But rest in peace to the victims, and all my condolences to the families. And if there were faults with the airport that went unchecked until this disaster, I hope the full investigation into this crash reveals all of them. And I hope that leads to meaningful change in government oversight.
South Korea plane crash, at least 62 ang patay. Ito ay Jeju Air airplane mula Bangkok at maglaland sa Muan International Airport sa South Korea. It was carrying 181 people, and as of now, 62 ang patay at tumataas pa yung numbers kasi kanina 47. It was supposed to land noong 8:30 a.m. pero na-abort yung first landing kasi hindi ma-lower yung landing gear. Ang maaring dahilan ng landing gear malfunction ay dahil sa bird strike. Tapos yung eroplano, nag-touchdown ito without its landing gear lowered, and then slammed into a wall near the end of the runway. So yung aeroplano, nag-crash landing siya, rammed into a wall, tas lumiyab. And guys, medyo nakakatakot lumipad ngayon kasi like few days ago, may Kazakhstan plane crash. Ngayon naman, South Korea. Grabe, praying for Korea, the victims, and the survivors.